Hi, welcome to video number 7. In this video, we'll go ahead and demonstrate the full and partial width segment correction options that are available on the hot mix asphalt Smoothness adjustment worksheet. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the same worksheet or payment adjustment sheet that we used in the last video, video 6, or whatever number that was. So on the left-hand side, we see an option for full width and partial width segment corrections, and then there's a lot of text here. So later, if you forget what I'm telling you today, you can read this. You can put your cursor over it, and there's some instructions here. So when we talk about full width or partial width segment correction, what that is it's basically the replacement spec for the pre-paving grinding days. There's no more pre-paving grinding day item. If there's going to be any pre-paving corrections, they're now going to be covered by one of these two items, full width or partial width segment correction. So the way the rules work are that typically the designer will have this in a table, and there's going to be a bid item quantity. It's going to be by the segment. And these will be applied to areas that the designer has decided to use them. So we're going to go ahead and look at segment number 2 because it's the one that has an existing MRI that's well over 135. These other ones that are above and below it don't have it. So let's assume that the designer wanted to do some kind of pre-paving correction. So in this segment 2, if they would have designated full width segment correction, what that would have required is the contractor would either have to take a diamond grinder or a micro mill and do a skim grind, basically do a grind the whole lane width for the full segment length. So the whole lane is going to be just, the light layer is going to be removed from it, and it's going to be smoother than what it was before. So now this spec puts the onus on the contractor, because what we do here with this full width segment correction is when we pick that, right now we can see that 159 and 92, the MRI 0 is going to be the lower of that. When we say full width segment correction, we put a checkbox here. And what that does is, when you read our specs, when we have a full width segment correction, the MRI 0 is based on the existing. We don't use the baseline. But because we do that, we also count that as a second opportunity for improvement. So it's similar to having a 75 target table, except we're using a percent improvement pay table with 2 opportunities. So that's how that works. So it doesn't matter how smooth that baseline is. So in this case, it might have been that there was some pre-paving, a full width segment correction, and there were some dig outs that were taking place there first. So, the contractor went in there and did their dig outs. Then they would have came through with their pre-paving, with their full width segment correction. So once they measured the surface on top of the dig outs before they did their full width segment correction, they might have a 92. Well, it would be, to their advantage to try to make that as smooth as possible, because, they're going to be having their full width segment correction based on a 159.28 with 2 opportunities being applied. So both of these new bid items put more onus on the contractor to, achieve desirable results rather than just having a pre-paved grinding day. Okay, so summarizing full width segment correction, you place a box in that first column titled full width segment correction. The specs are going to use the existing, and then we have to increase the opportunities for improvement by 1. So if you're a resident engineer checking this, you want to make sure that the contractor's always increased this full opportunity by 1 above what it would have been. Okay, so let's go ahead and unselect that, and we're going to go change this back to 1 here. So now we're back to the existing condition. So now partial width segment correction. So what this does, it just basically forces the spec to default to a 75 pay target table if our layer thickness is less than 3/10, or a 60 table if it's 3/10 or greater. So it's kind of like buying a credit. And the partial width segment correction, the specs require the contractor to provide a plan and have it approved by the engineer. So that's the partial width segment correction. So when we look here, we have a 159.28 and 92.01. The lower of those two is 92, and there's a 75 pay 450 table. So we'll just to demonstrate how this works, I'm going to go ahead and change this 92 on the backup sheet. We're not supposed to do this. We're just doing this for demonstration purposes. I'm going to change it to 159. There's that 92. I'm going to change that to 159. Okay, we'll go back to the payment adjustment worksheet. Okay, so if we had a partial width segment correction, it would be up to the contractor. When we look at this right now, the MRI 0 is over 135, so it kicks into the percent improvement spec. We have higher MRI max thresholds. So now, if we're using partial width segment correction, we're going to check that, and you're going to see this pay 450 table. It's just going to go to the 75 target table. So it changed to 75 target table. So now the max MRI max is 90 with a 160. So that's how partial width segment corrections work. So that's the end of this video, and we'll move on to the next.